The warehouse is open. Volume 27, Tales from the Warehouse, the NoVa Expo, just completed. Pleased to be joined today by David Meisel, Senior Director, Special Projects, Washington Capital Sales Lead of MeiGray, and Francis Rady, longtime collecting friend of this guy, and I proudly say that, founder of the Northern Virginia Game-Worn Jersey Expo, and also a longtime collector. Gentlemen, welcome to Tales from the Warehouse. Hard to believe that we're already on to volume 27. Francis, we'll start with you and welcome. What is the Northern Virginia Game-Worn Jersey Expo? And take me sort of through the history of this, because this thing has now been around for quite some time, sir.
Sure, no problem. Yeah, we were talking back in 2008. Me and Derek Whitwer were talking about maybe putting something together, and I thought about it, and I said, "Well, I'll give it a shot." And the first year we had about 8 people show up, like 2 walk-ins, and then it gradually got better and better. And it's just amazing how it's progressed over. Well, this will be our 17th year, 2021, because of COVID. But it's amazing how it's just progressed all over the years, and how many people want to come and spend the weekend and bring their collections out, and some dealers come out too, and just people from all over the country come out. It's unbelievable, Scott.
Francis, tell me from a pride perspective. And I know lots of people are proud of different things. You're proud of your son, Ray. You're proud of your collection. You're proud of your dog's behavior. You're proud of your lawn. It just, obviously it's all relative, but I know you're proud of what this has become because of the collection and the connection.
I'm so proud I just am just proud, and I'm overwhelmed, and it gives me so much pleasure to see the progression of it and all the people that come. We meet new people every year, and we get a lot of people that come in that's never been, and they're like overwhelmed. They just can't believe what they're seeing, stuff like that. So that I'm proud of that. And so, yeah, stuff like that. Yeah.
I'll get back to you in a second, Francis, because I know that Mr. Meisel has been to several of these, as have I been to more than several. Proud supporter, longtime attendee, set
Right.
up, go whenever I can. I mean, I've been to plenty of them, and I'll keep on going until you say, Lynn, you're not welcome here anymore.
That's
David,
never.
now never say never, Francis. You haven't seen me at my worst. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. David, you've been to a couple of these now. How is this year's expo compared to the other ones you've attended?
Well, I've been to a couple shows, but this was my first year at NoVa, actually. So like, and I've been to a variety over the years, ranging from like the NHL Fan Fest when we had the league contract, where we were just one of, I don't know, hundreds of vendors there and seeing like all sorts of hockey fans, to, like I think I've been to Hershey. Our expo is the majority of shows that I've been to. And it was really, I mean, the first thing was it was really cool to see that, like, I don't know. I guess I sort of had in my head that I expected to see all the same people, and I didn't, even though Northern Virginia is, 3.5 hour drive. And I know people love to make the trip for a game worn Jersey Expo. Like I did see some new faces, met some people I had only ever met over email. Like, and like, display wise, table wise, I actually didn't get to walk the full room. But as far as the scale of the show, like Frank talked about, this show starting off as, well, 6 signups and 2 walk-ins, 8 people. I'm not good with the people counts, but table wise, it was bigger than any show I'd ever seen. So it was really a cool environment, because guys in the hobby talk about the community aspect a lot, and it's really there. Like, I got there at Friday night. I was in at I don't know, about 11:30, and there was probably a half dozen guys in the bar, you know just shooting the breeze, hanging out, not even necessarily, no jerseys around them, like people just hanging out. And then obviously you get the show where we really just took over the whole hotel. So it's a pretty cool environment. especially for me where I'm just like, not part of putting the show on, at a MeiGray Expo, but where I'm just displaying, selling, answering questions. It's really cool. It was really cool for me to just be a part of it where I wasn't the host, I guess.
Frank, much like David, you travel the country. You'll go to Southern California. You'll go to St. Louis. You'll go to MeiGray. You'll go to other places to take part and to attend and to support. Not, the NoVa, because I also am super proud of you and of it. It's special. What makes it so unique compared to the other ones that you've seen?
To be honest with you, it's a hard question to answer. I mean, some shows that I've been to have just started out, so they're getting it a little bit. But then I'll go back a couple of years. You can tell it's starting to grow, which is a great thing. But that's a good question.
Is it a feeling, Frank? Is it, and again, you connect with a lot of people, which is a credit to you. So you go to St. Louis and you go to wherever, whenever, and you meet people. You're chatty. You're an ambassador to the hobby. And that's something that we all love and appreciate about you. Is there more of an ambassadorship because you are the founder of the NoVa thing? So it's like, look, I love going to see your boats and your boat show, but this is my boat. So maybe it's because of the certain, you guys are coming to my backyard. I want to make sure that everybody's happy. Do you think that's a little bit it? Or because you're so comfortable in these surroundings, it just naturally exudes. I want everybody to be comfortable. And at the end of the day, we all say things like, damn, just like Dave was talking about. Friday night, there was a trader room for 3+ hours and a conversation and the laughs and the bourbon and the adult beverages, thanks to George, and the pizza, thanks to Mike. Like, it's a family campfire about the sweaters. So it's truly a get together kind of weekend. But, I don't know if others do that, sort of the Friday night welcome wagon, but all day long, because of you and because of the vibe that you give off, people just tend to feel comfortable.
Yeah, I try to make everybody feel welcome, and I walk around when the NoVa show is going on. I walk around to every table, make sure all our guests, well, I say my guests, have what they need. Is there if you have any questions or concerns, please reach out to me. I'll be right here. And yeah, I don't know. Yeah, some of the shows I've been to, I think the NoVa show is one of the few that have a get together on Friday night.
Mm-hmm.
But there's some
What
shows days, so I only do the one day. But yeah, I know this is one of the few shows that has a get together Friday night. As big as that looks like a little expo right there, if you ask me. Well, you were thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was my first Friday night, and it was something. And like I said, absolute blast. All right, last question, then I'll be done putting you on the spot because I want to get more Dave's take, even though he said he didn't walk a ton of the room, but he and I both walked enough of the room to sort of give the listeners to the Tales from the Warehouse a little bit of a flavor. Can you take me behind the scenes, Frank? Again, I've talked to Dave, I've talked to Barry, I've talked to the people from MeiGray, and we'll talk more about what goes into theirs as the months come toward us. But when does the work for the Northern Virginia Game-Worn Expo start? And even before we started recording today, can you finally breathe and can you believe that it's over? And has work already started for the next one?
Yeah, I finally started to come down, because I'm a real nervous wreck about a week before the show because I just want to make sure everything goes right, everything's smooth, and everything. So I started coming down probably Tuesday night. Started finally relaxing, and then as far as working on the show for this upcoming season or upcoming year, 2025, I'm probably going to. I usually start around August, September. And usually when I start posting stuff, tables usually sell out like in an hour. They're
Mm-hmm.
gone. I had 8 people already request tables for next year, and 4 people that has never been before. That
Wow.
they want to come. They have some jerseys, and so I have 4 out of the 8 that reached out to me on Saturday want to come next year, and they've never set up before. They just came in, and they heard about it, but they came up to me later that day, and they were overwhelmed. They have never seen anything like this. And I said, well, thank you for the nice compliment and everything like that. But everybody's been really, really gracious. They want to help. They helped me set up the room, and Meg and Joe Pike, she makes all the table tents and the name badges. So that's a big help. But for like the first, I'd say this is our 17th year, I'd say probably 14 years, I do the whole thing myself. I've never asked, because you guys are my guest. I don't need you to come in and help me set up the room because you're my guest. I need you guys just come and have fun. But now people are wanting to help, which is great. And I'm not going to say no and stuff like that. But I'm going to start doing it probably like in August for 2025. Yeah. So,
As Dave alluded to, the show was the biggest and the best by far that it's ever been. And it was a massive room filled with tables and dealers and collectors. And Dave, I'll start. I'm not going to ask myself the question, but some of the interesting items and displays that I got to see this year, I'll start with the MeiGray table. And again, not putting anybody above anybody else. I spent a lot of time at the MeiGray table. I was enamored with the Austin Matthews St. Pat's. There were Ovechkins. There were current caps. And I was so glad to see lots of people buzzing around that rack like it was bees and honey. There was a very special number 42 red from this season, I believe, or perhaps last. I'm not sure. You can clarify. And it was hammered. Mr. Marty F., where it was repairs on top of repairs with see-through because there'd been so much repair work that the thing was transparent on the hem. It was an insanely worn current sweater, and I'm glad it was sold, and I'm glad it went to a good home because that prevented me from purchasing it. But among other things, there were just Sean Broderick's Vesna collection is like nothing you'll ever see anywhere. AJ and the Wings, and Bert and the Tom Wilsons, and David and his Cal Ripken that was worn for basically a full season All-Star game and playoffs. And there were just so many pieces that were loved, cared for, acquired, what have you. It was a great day for the hobby. One of the, I'll get to it in the funny part later, but Dave, you got to walk a little bit, and what'd you see? What'd you take note of?
Well, I think a lot of jerseys moved at this show. That's what I took out of it. I know Jeff Spade was of MeiGray was there as a collector, and I know he did a big deal for his own collection. I remember, it was kind of like, well, I've done the South Jersey Expo frequently recently. I'm not always in sort of within the collector, I don't want to say scuttlebutt, but just listening to the discourse that's going on in a room. Like I remember Bert came up to me at the beginning of the show. He's like, "Oh yeah, that Ferrari is going to be gone by the end of the day," and it was. And it was actually there was almost a fight over it, like at one point, I think. And that's kind of the stuff that I don't always get. Sitting here at my desk where I'm usually going one on one with this collector and that collector, and it's not a group conversation really. But being at the NoVa Expo, there's a couple dozen or 100 people around who are kind of all talking about what's at the show that day. I remember another collector kind of looking around, seeing I think there were 4 or 5 Ovechkins in the room, and the ore might be the one we displayed from his rookie year is kind of the first time we're showing that jersey. Is 100th career point worn on I think April 10th, 2006. It's a jersey he wore in Boston for one game we went up to get. Again, that's a jersey we've had for a while, but haven't shown to everybody. And it was one of those where it's like, all right, yeah, I guess we know the price, but I'm not really explicitly looking to sell it. So it was cool. It was cool to see, especially with Ovechkins, those changing hands, because there is a real ebb and flow to how popular his jerseys are. It depends how many goals he's scoring, at least from my perspective. And of course, I always like to see, the non-jersey accoutrement. That always really gets me. Like we actually, just as a brief tangent, we got a brochure from Heritage Auctions recently of like all this what is it called? Screen used, TV used, film used stuff.
Sure.
This auction that they had, and we've just it's like been an idle activity, like looking through that book. Here's the X-wing from A New Hope and stuff like that. So I always like to see, like, I don't want to say jerseys are old hat to me, but I like to see the things people are collecting that I'm not really aware of, because then I say, oh, that's like super cool, like, or specific collection focuses, like you said, Sean's Vezina collection. Um, back in the day, Rafi Bass had the 500 goals collection.
Absolutely.
And then there's there's a variety of it. There's people who collect jerseys of diabetic players, and so I guess it's interesting for me to see, like, I don't know if this is the right term, what people come up with. It's like that's what I'm going to focus on.
Mm-hmm. It was, like I said, it was a great day for the hobby. Frank, you again, you're the maitre d, and I say that with the utmost respect. You're the cruise director, if you will, and you're walking from table to table to make sure that everybody's got dinner reservations, everybody knows where the shuffleboard tent is, or deck is, and everybody knows that there's a dance contest and there's basketball and there's drinks with really cool umbrellas. And and there was a guest this year, and Adam Oates, who walked around and shook all the dealers' hands and was quite lovely and was enamored with. There were a ton of Oates there too. It was really, really cool. And lest I forget, my neighbor on the backside, which was Derek Whitwer, who has an insane collection, and Oates and Langway and Capitals through the decades, and not to mention Waugh and Lemieux and Ron Francis and Larry Robinson and Steve Eiserman and Sergei Fedorov, and that's not even the least of it. But there were just amazing, amazing pieces. I know that you have an affinity for a jet named Sweeney, but you also you like to collect specific things, but you are an appreciator of all. What stuck out to you that was on the floor, sir?
What stuck out to me was obviously Sean's collection. That's just, you just don't see that stuff. Maybe at an expo. I don't, he
Maybe
came.
at the Hall of Fame.
I'm saying,
Yeah.
yeah, maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
He came in 2015. I know he went to Germany with his family, but I was in awe of that. Of course, AJ's collection is just, that's one of the most beautiful Red Wings collection I've ever seen. And then, of course, you got Burt Woods' Tom Wilson collection, and then, of course, MeiGray. I mean, I saw the Austin Matthews. I've never seen one of those before. That was amazing. That's a beautiful sweater. I mean, you look at Connor McDavid's hat trick jersey. I mean, you get to touch that. I mean, that just doesn't happen, because you go to an expo, stuff comes out of the vault, but then you'll never see it again. And of course, I saw the Bobby Orr Blackhawks. You never see those. Stuff like that kind of really stuck out at me. And let me just change gears real quick. When a couple years ago, Jeff Thompson has a beautiful Caps collection. He came,
Amazing. Yes.
he came one year with Chuck Fritter, and they had all captains' jerseys on display for the Capitals, from the first captain up to now. And that's what stuff that I really enjoy seeing, stuff like that. But as far as the expo this weekend, I mean, Adam Oates was amazing. He generally enjoyed his time there. He was just a super nice guest, and but just seeing, like, you see like a Malkin or a Fleury, stuff like that. But as far as, like I said, the Venza Trophy collection and Richmond Robbins, stuff like that. I mean, that stuff just doesn't come out. It's
No.
never for sale. People get that stuff and they want to show it, but that's as far as it goes. But that's what kind of stuck out at me a little bit. But seeing a Richmond Robbins, I've never seen one of those. I've never seen the St. Pat's jersey, never. So I was looking at that, and then the Martin F with all the repairs. I mean, that stuff that's what I like. The stuff with a lot of wear on them and stuff, and then like the St. Pat's and stuff like that. That's what kind of stuck out at me.
Well, for my part, I'll just say, like, again, perspective is so interesting here because we've had that Matthews a while.
Okay.
I think about 2 or 3 years, and I was almost like hesitant to bring it because the way I look at it is like, oh, everybody's seen it on our site. But then when it becomes tangible, when you see it in person and you see those rectangular felt numbers that are like there's probably someone probably knows the name for them, but it's like there's the number which is against a piece of fabric sewn onto the jersey. It's really cool to look at, and also like I will just say, definitely like bring that racket caps jerseys. I was looking for the best wear that we had for each player on the team, so it was cool for me to go through and like just just look at wear for an hour or two, just
Yeah.
to bring that list together, and people appreciated it. So I'm glad for that.
Yeah. And I was happy.
Definitely.
I picked up the Jensen that you got me. That's got like 25 repairs. I mean, it's beautiful.
Yeah,
I love it. Love it. Yeah. That's
I totally agree. David, you did a good job for representation and the caps, with their equipment staff. They do a really good job of putting a ton of wear, and the repairs are little pieces of artwork, as we've talked about and we'll continue to talk about. It's volume 27, Tales from the Warehouse, the Northern Virginia Expo, joined today by David Meisel of MeiGray and Francis Rady, the guy who founded and continues to be the lifeblood of the NoVa Game-Worn Jersey Expo. Dave, you mentioned briefly, that shirts were moving and changing hands. I'm not here to out anybody for what they did or didn't do because maybe people don't want to know, but I there were many things on the move, and you like to see that because either it doesn't fit in one's collection any longer, or there's bigger, better out there, and people know it's like a lot of folks treat it sensibly like a salary cap. I need to offload some players to make room for some new stuff, but it appeared to be a very busy show on the
yeah,
transaction front, and that again, you like to see. I had a friend come in who had never before been to any one of these, and he collects other things through the decades and has a modest collection of other items in the sports world. And he came right to you, and he was able to pick something up. I mean, this is what the hobby's about. It's about being accessible, being kind, being willing to educate to the best of one's ability. And if you don't know the answer, I saw some of the Facebook posts and the reactions where, and I forget the attendee's name, and he said, people will tell you about their jerseys whether you want them to or not. And
yeah,
I'm that guy because I always walk up to everybody and I see people thumbing through the rack and I say, a lot of those are for show and tell. But if you have any questions, by all means ask. And then if someone says, okay, thank you, I'll be right over and I'll just start telling them a story about a sweater because I'm really happy to share, my modest sweater knowledge or what have you. But that's the same experience, whether it was an interesting deal or a quick funny story. Our friend Wade came in from St. Louis, Francis, and he has supported the show before. And I walked over, I was able to see his corner of the world, and he had a Barrasso St. Louis Blues. And you know me, I'm a goalie fan. And he said, I think he was only there. I don't have the exact stats. I think he played 8 or 10 games or something like that. And Wade and I
I think it
were
was six.
six. Thank you, David. So Wade and I were commiserating, but in a humorous way. I said, I can't afford a Barrasso Pens right now. Certainly can't afford a Barrasso Sabres right now. I at one point I'm like, I'll take a Barrasso Canes or a Barrasso Blues or a Barrasso Leafs. I'm okay being the third or fourth stop on somebody else's remarkable career. And Wade and I were just talking about that, like you said, Dave. People collect diabetic players. Tom Pody, who used to play for the Capitals, had a peanut allergy, and I have my youngest has a peanut allergy. I know somebody who came to me years ago. Do you have Pody's? No, I do not. Oh, my son has a peanut allergy. I only collect players with peanut allergies who carry EpiPens to games. You never know what you're going to stumble upon. Anyway, back to Wade, who's just great and gracious. He's like, yeah, I pounced on the Barrasso. I'm not going to grab one of these, but I'm super happy. Plus, he's a Blues guy, and it was pretty neat. Dave, I didn't know if you had any other experiences like that walk in the room.
Yeah. I guess well, the one thing I like the one thing I can think of is like it's not just the talking about it, it's like the effort people go to like properly display their collections. Like I saw people who had like, obviously here in MeiGray, like we have placards for all the jerseys we had on mannequins,
Hmm.
but we just have the name, the set date, and not the set date, the set type, and if it's first career hat trick or whatever. But you know, seeing people who had like one of those little like it almost looks like a bag clip with an index card on the top that has like basically a bio of the jersey and associated info about the player. So it's just like, yes, some people, those people could probably talk your ear off about those jerseys, but it's interesting, just like, someone took their free time to go and showcase this thing that they're passionate about, and they're bringing it to a show where other people are going to look at it. So it's just like, yeah, it's like the effort people go to. It's like people care about this. I don't know what the profound point I'm trying to get to here is, but it's just like, yeah, like the care taken all across the room.
Definitely so. Francis, you've been to plenty of these, and you've uh, acquired through trade or otherwise. Is there any advice for folks going to expos? And I also, I was able to give out a little bit of this just because a guy stopped by, he'd never been. A gentleman came down from Rockville, Maryland, where I am, about 45 minutes away, and he's now my Facebook friend. And he said, can you tell me how this works? And he said it sort of sheepishly. And I said, be yourself. I said, just ask if you can look and ask if they're available. Some people will say yes. Some people will say, like I do, a lot of them are for show and tell, but I'm happy to talk about anything and tell you what tell you my little spiel about each of them, what have you. If you're looking for something in particular, blah, blah, blah. If you have money and want to make an offer, be prepared to counter. And then for trades too, be prepared to show the dealer or collector, much like they're showing you. All my stuff is on a rack. If you want to make a trade, as far as your little tale for advice for people attending expos and sort of expo protocol, whether it's making a trade or trying to pick something up, what do you have to say to all of them?
I'd say, when you go into the expos, ask a lot of questions. I mean, if you like something, I mean, just talk to the collector or the dealer. Say, hey, I like that shirt. Is it for sale or trade? A lot of times, a lot of stuff is just for show. But you say, well, maybe down the road, keep me in mind. But I made a lot of friends through Facebook that day as well.
Mm-hmm.
Ask a lot of questions. Be very polite before you pick up something. Hey, may I like a helmet or a mask? May I look at that or something? But like I said, just ask questions and that's pretty much it. But I would just say if you see a dealer or say, is that for sale or is it for trade? Or you might have something and they'll say, oh, I'd rather just sell it. Just kind of stuff like that. But I'd say ask a lot of questions and just be yourself and be polite. Because I had some people say, well, one guy that's never been before, he never set up before. He goes, do we have like our tables arranged? I go, no, I'll put you wherever you can just find a spot. But a lot of people want to sit next to somebody, like stuff like that, which is fine. I try to accommodate everybody. Or can I get a wall space? Yeah, that's fine. I try to accommodate everybody I can. But if you come to the show first time, I'm usually at the front. I say, if you have any questions or concerns, I'll be happy to help you. Whatever you need, here's my information, and just have fun. Just it's a relaxed day. Just have fun. Been my motto for 17 years. Just have fun, and walk around. And I mean, a lot of people come in and they might, like when MeiGray comes, they might have a practice jersey and they'll buy a practice jersey. So that kind of gets it going a little bit, but just ask questions and be polite and have fun. That's the
Dave,
way.
something to add for the new folks that just walk in, and I mean, it happens every year. And again, kudos to Francis, kudos to the crew. There were faces, time was when we were in another hotel and it would be filled with mite hockey families and teenage hockey tournaments who were staying at that airport area hotel. This time, not nearly, and maybe because we switched to the Westin this year or so, the Dulles Westin, but it was way more adults and people I had never seen at any of these. There were a lot of repeat folks that came out that set up, but a lot of new faces set up and a lot of new attendees that I'd never seen before, and I love that. Anyway, any advice to add as well on top of Francis?
I think Francis hit the nail on the head. I mean, for me, it's like I'm usually at these shows as a vendor, so it's a slightly different experience. But one thing I always say, and I guess it works anywhere, is like if you're negotiating on something or if you're interested in something, just like throw an offer out there. Like even if it's not, you're talking to me or like a company, like you never know, like what could transpire on something. And it's like, if you want a shirt, like sometimes you get creative. Like, I don't remember seeing one recently, but I'm sure three-way trades are common, or maybe not common, but like they happen in the hobby. Like I saw one go down like in front of me. There's like it's almost cool to see like what goes for what. And like this person gets an Ovechkin in their collection, and this person gets a shirt that like the person just found on eBay, something like that. So yeah, it's just like yeah, I guess just to kind of go off what Frank said, don't be shy about trying to get what you want. I'm not saying be pushy or rude, but you can't get what you want unless you ask for it.
Yeah, all you got to do is offer. You never know. All the person can say is no, and then you just go from there.
Yeah.
That's all. I mean, just be yourself, man. Be yourself and just ask questions. That's all. That's the way I look.
You'll walk away with a new collecting friend at the very least. Just be, like you said, ask a lot of questions and don't be afraid to ask. I mean, we were all new collectors at one point. We were all new expo attendees at one point. And so it's this place is a good vibe. And we have in the notes today to just say, if you're on the fence, don't be on the fence. If one's in your neighborhood, you should go. If you're thinking about it, you should go. They are, again, a chance to connect with other collectors. That's great. What's the loss in that? And a chance to see some of the most amazing sweaters you will ever see from all teams, all eras of your life. There was one piece that I saw, and it was at our friend Derek's right behind me. He had a Jeff Courtnall rookie Boston Bruins, 83, 84, something like that. And it had a repair down the back of the neck and then all the way out. It looked like rotator cuff surgery was done while Mr. Courtnall was wearing this. It was a stunning piece. And again, a lot of people have fond memories for him for playing in a couple of places, including the Washington Capitals. But man alive, what an absolute stunner of a piece. Boys, we'll wrap with this. And it's sort of one of those, open up your little case and pull out the crystal ball. And Dave, I'll start with you, and Francis, I'll end with you. What do you guys see maybe Francis, I'll start with you, for the future of the Northern Virginia Expo and then other game-worn jersey expos in the terms of growth? And Francis, before I get to you, when you started this 17 years ago and you had 8 people walk in, and I've been to a bunch of these, and there were little tables and we were crammed together and we would sit there and talk to each other, but I still went home beyond happy because it was exposure to the jersey collecting community. And then you got the little kids coming in and you got the parents, and then you see them maybe next year. Hey, aren't you the guy with blank? Yeah, that was me last year. You still have that? Oh yeah, of course. Cornerstone of my collection. These things continue to grow. And if nothing else, if you're the type that is full up on friends, I don't think anybody can have too many of those, especially collecting friends. So what do you see for the future of NoVa and game-worn jersey expos in general, Mr. Rady?
Well, this year I saw a lot of new faces that came in that were actually set up. So that's I'm encouraged for that for the future. And as far as other expos, some of them that I've been to, they're growing, and I've been to a few where they've had like maybe 10 tables, and I go back the next year and they got like maybe 17 tables. So everything's growing. But I like the fact that you're getting some new collectors and come through the door that's never been there before. And yeah, I'm looking forward to that. More collectors, and like I said, I've had 4 people reach out to me for this year that's never been. They want to come. So that's 4 more new faces we're going to see hopefully next year if everything works out. So I'm encouraged with the hobby as far as long term and stuff, and I think it's only going to get better. I really do. Yeah, I really do.
David, we can break some news if you'd like, because MeiGray has an annual summer expo, and Little Bird told me about it. If you want me to blurt it out or tweet it out, or you can tweet it out, or whatever makes you comfortable.
That's a Casey question.
Let's roll. The 19th annual MeiGray Expo will be held July 13th at Raritan Valley Community College. So circle your calendars, start arranging your dates. Everybody head up to Raritan Valley Community College. The MeiGray Expo, much like the NoVa Expo, much like a certain golf tournament in Augusta, Georgia, traditions unlike any other. Welcome back to the summertime. The MeiGray Expo, the 19th, will take place July 13th at Raritan Valley Community College. Always an amazing time. Don't email the program or email MeiGray. More information to come, I promise. But we got a date, and it's going to happen. Dave, what do you see for the future of Game-Worn Jersey Expos and how important they are?
Well, and just to speak to this particular one, glad we're back in July for sure. I think August was hard for, like, I definitely heard last year that it was hard for some people to make it with a different date, but logistically we fixed some stuff up that kind of had nothing to do with us. So back on track there. You know, I'm not trying to set a higher bar for Frank on his expo, certainly, but you know, you love to see walk-ins. You love to see. I mean, I don't know. Like one small thing that's cool about that venue is, like, I mean, I was looking in the 36 hours I was there. I guess it's like for people who are like flight attendants or stopping in the city one day, it's like a pretty busy hotel.
Mm-hmm.
So it's cool if, you know, versus, like, you know, not to speak ill of the Marriott in Branchburg, but, you know, it's not as much of a happening place as the dullest Westin. So you might have it's cool because you might have more exposure to people who just like, hey, what's this conference going on that apparently is open and I can walk in on?
That is something,
but,
Dave.
you know,
Put a pause in there for a second. Francis, I noticed that too. Right across the street or circle, and I don't know if it's corporate housing or temporary or condos that people live in. I don't know what the you know what the nature of that neighborhood is, but the fact that they're there, a lot of times you do have an airport hotel with just a gas station and there's not much around it. It's not like people can walk in. And to Dave's point, I actually thought that was a nice added feature, unintended or intended, but brilliant. Chef's kiss. I like the fact that we were in somebody's neighborhood, and when I pulled out of the parking garage or pulled into the parking garage, there's people walking babies and people coming in from off the street. That added something this year, and especially cast a wide net, catch some new fish. That's a cool thing. Dave, back to you. Sorry about that, buddy.
It's cool to see a hobby go mainstream, or it's cool to see a thing you like go mainstream that you were in on early. Some people might call you a hipster for that. I tend to have a more nuanced view of things. It's just fun to be in on the ground floor on something and see it grow and see exposure to it because, like, you know, it's a part of you and other people are enjoying it.
Deal. Speaking of expos again, 713 Raritan Valley Community College, the 19th annual MeiGray Expo will be held then. It is my absolute pleasure and thank you to both Francis Rady, founder of the Northern Virginia Game-Worn Jersey Expo, longtime collector, and Dave Meisel, senior director, special projects, capital sales lead over at MeiGray. Gentlemen, this was fun. Tales from the Warehouse, volume number 27, the NoVa Expo, now in the rear view. Until next year, it's always a blast. You should attend. Till next time, the warehouse is closed.